sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening, opening. We are opening, opening. I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life. 'Cause my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yeah. Oh, I am only here. Yes, I am only here for God. Happy Sunday. Woo!
So, good morning. And good morning to our live stream audience, wherever you are out there. Thank you for joining the Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula. I know that we have people out there today that are joining us for our celebration service this morning. And if I may, I just want to do a quick shout out to Reverend Linda Anson, who couldn't be here with us today, and also maybe to Reverend Kathy Sharmer. So as it was stated, both of them are under the weather, doing better and better all the time. And so we know that your presence is here, and our presence is with you as well. So blessings. And thank you, everybody who's out there, for joining us this morning. Isn't it wonderful the way that technology serves us in that way when we can't be somewhere and we want to be? Live streaming is a wonderful vehicle for giving out the wonderful energy that we have. So I'm just really smiling at the moment because I just caught out of the corner of my eye Billy back there and my dog Pepe just having a little love fest and kissing each other. It was it was just too cute. So I want to share with you, before I get into my message too deep, just a little bit about my last few days. I'm still vibrating from all the energy that I've been in. So in mind, about a week before I'm going to come again to be with you all from Chico, my mind starts packing, but my body is doing other things. And as every day comes closer, my body is responding to the thoughts, and the energy becomes more noticeable, and it's saying, pay attention. And so long about Thursday, I began to actually put things together, sat down for a few moments and visualized out of a space of what had not been working to what would be working better in terms of my process of getting ready. And so my intuition served me well. And one of the things that it said was to complete each task before I moved on to the next one, as opposed to circling around, okay, here, and then the thought goes over here, and so then I'm in my room at my closet, and I'm doing that, and then a thought comes in, and then I'm back in my office, and I'm doing that, or I'm going and checking and seeing, well, my dog is coming with me this time, where am I on the food for 9 days, what do I need, and then eventually back over in the office, and it starts to feel like my body is just following this bouncing ball. And so I changed my process, and it worked much better. I'm going to keep doing that. And I got in my car, and still I have to recognize that the process of getting ready is, it takes time. And it takes focused energy to do it. It takes decisions, and it takes following through. So yesterday morning, I was pulling out of my driveway at 8:30 in the morning because unlike most of the times where I drive over on Saturday all the way, I had a memorial service to attend in Sacramento. And the memorial service was for one of our, a colleague, a minister colleague of mine, longtime minister, Reverend Sandy Freeman Loomis. And she was in our spiritual movement a champion for teens. And I had the opportunity in a memorial service, just like in a birth at times, to have a look at my own life. All the while thinking about the topic for this month and knowing that recently Reverend Kathy talked about the thing itself, which is a phrase that Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of, back then was called the Church of Religious Science, and the author of the textbook, The Science of Mind, that is the name that he put for this infinite, divine, all-knowing power, everywhere present, creative force out of which we have been made, the thing itself. And as Reverend Kathy said, what he was trying to do was to use a name that would somewhat define and describe the nature of this creative power without putting limits on it. So sitting in the memorial service, I was well aware by the time it was over, and it was long, it was rich, it was deep, it was thought-provoking, it was emotion-provoking. And so after 2 hours, I was a little bit spent. But I had the tilling of the soil in my own consciousness had really been taking place. And one of the takeaways for me was in regard to the topic for today, what it does, the thing itself. What does it do? We've already heard a little bit the last couple of weeks about what it is. And I'll talk a little bit more about that today. But what it does. And I heard people come up and talk about how Reverend Sandy's teaching of these universal spiritual principles heals lives. It heals lives because it opens up that within us that can contemplate and imagine and visualize and see something greater for ourselves than we're experiencing at any given time. And I looked around the room at about 150 people, many science of mind practitioners, many ministers, many adults that are now in their 40s who were part of the teen group, the hundreds and hundreds of the religious science teen camp seminars that came to honor the life, the spirit, and the way that Reverend Sandy taught that there's a power in the universe for good. It's everywhere present. And what does that power in the universe for good do? Well, it works through you, as you, according to your beliefs. It changes lives. It opens us up to look at the beliefs, the false beliefs, the error thinking that is putting limits and boundaries on our lives based on a belief that is held in the unconscious that says, I'm not enough. Me? Make the world a better place? Yes, you. Make the world a better place. Now, I'm very glad to know that when I think about the idea of making the world a better place, that first and foremost, and most importantly, the place that I do that is within my own consciousness. And it calls me to the practice of every day getting my butt in the chair for my spiritual practice, for my meditation and my spiritual mind treatment work. And for those of you that don't know, spiritual mind treatment is affirmative prayer, but it's a very specific form of prayer, which I'll share next week because that's about how do you use it next week. So what it does, it works through us. It awaits our recognition of it. There is that within us that is whole, complete, and perfect. There is that within us that knows who we really, really are, stripped away of the limitations that we learn in the world. There is that within us that knows our heart, that knows what is important, that knows what we value. And most importantly, what I've learned and what I saw reflected in all of these people in the memorial service was that there's that within me that knows who I am. Who am I? I'm creative. I'm free. Shakespeare said, thought is free. We have the choice, responding to the ability within us to ask a better question, to let go of what no longer serves us. Thought is free. But it comes at a price. The price is our being conscious, coming into the present moment, tapping into that divine intelligence, the spirit within us that is not limited by form or the conditions of the world, and asking ourselves, is that a thought that serves who I am as a spiritual being? Is that a thought? Is that a belief that I want to embrace? Because as we know, we are co-creating through our thoughts with Spirit all the time. Now, in the beginning of this chapter in the Science of Mind textbook of what it does, in the third paragraph, Dr. Holmes writes, perhaps the simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we are surrounded by a mind with a capital M, or intelligence that knows everything. The pure potential knowledge of all things, seen and unseen, exists within this infinite mind, the thing itself. That the abstract essence of beauty and truth and wisdom coexist in the mind of the universe, in this universal principle. And that we also exist in it and may draw from it. We live and breathe and have our being in this universal, all-knowing, all-powerful, infinite mind. It's invisible. It contemplates its own nature. And out of its self-contemplation, creation happens. Stars are created, and mountains, and animals, and peoples, and things, and inventions, and evolution continually unfolding, finding each one of us as an avenue for its expression. Not outside of us. Edison did not know how to invent electricity until he followed the path of inquiry, until he followed a desire within himself to know something, the inquisitive part of him, the part of him that wanted to express. And evolution was working through him. And lo and behold, electricity and everything that it is about found an avenue of expression through him to light the way, to change lives, to bring new inventions. Then it goes on to say, and this sentence he puts in all caps, but what we draw from it, the thing itself, this universal mind that is our mind, what we draw from it, we must draw through the channel of our own mind. We give it form. Now, it's not hard. What it means, when we say, oh, you can have anything you want. But the question is, what do you want? What do you want? See, there's that within you that already knows what you want. But there also might be that little part within you that has had lots of experiences, came into the world all inquisitive, all open, all ready to explore, to ask questions, to show up in your bright, beautiful you-ness. And then we start getting messages. Who do you think you are? Go sit down and be quiet. Oh, you talk so much. Oh, you're so quiet. Are you shy? Oh, you think you're so smart? And we go, oh. And it hurts. So we push it down. And we limit ourselves and we try to conform, while all the while, the thing itself, the divine urge, as Dr. Holmes calls it, I love that, the divine urge is pressing forward. The light still comes through. Now I want to share with you an experience that I had of the light coming through. And one of the wonderful things about this teaching for me has been the way that it has served me in doing healing work to change my beliefs. And I was very fortunate to start in 1984 in a church with ministers who, in my opinion, were on the cutting edge of healing and brought in all kinds of modalities for healing. And of course, in the 80s, for those of you that are old enough to remember, inner child work was a big thing at that time. And so were 12-step groups that taught us about taking responsibility and about staying in our own business instead of moving out into other people's business or even God's business, which just takes a heck of a lot of energy. And so along the way, I had the opportunity to remember an incident that happened in my early childhood. And here's the thing about stuff that happens in our early childhood when we are so impressionable, when we're like sponge. That those beliefs that are formed, the experiences that we have, the way that they feel and the decisions that we make about who we are in the world from those experiences know no time. They become a part of our consciousness. They become a pattern of operating and how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves in the world. But I was able to remember, and because I live and breathe and have my being in the mind of God, I trust my mind. I didn't used to. And I know that this experience happened when I was somewhere between 1 and 2. I was just toddling around and, and learning to talk. And I was very expressive. Always, as a child, as an early young child, very expressive. And I heard lots of things. I was a sponge. I took it all in. And so I started repeating some of the words that I heard around me. Well, it was a practice at that time that occasionally parents would wash their children's mouth out with soap. And so here I am, this exuberant 1 to 2 years old, saying words and having so much fun with it and feeling so intelligent. Next thing I know, I'm being taken to the sink. And a bar of soap. Not just a little bit of soap, the whole bar of soap. Now, lest I lose my focus here, I came to realize as I traveled through the emotions of that experience, which were difficult. I didn't want to go there. But I knew that I needed to remember this to free myself. And so I did. And I visualized it with the help of a practitioner. And I realized that I formed some beliefs about myself based on what had happened. I wasn't intelligent. And that because I wasn't intelligent, I would say wrong things and act in not just an unbecoming way, but a way that deserved to be punished. And that I certainly could not trust my creative, expressive nature. It was something to be very suspect of and to rein back in. And then a message that I got continually after that was, think before you speak, Christine. Think before you speak. Think before you speak. So you can kind of imagine what happened to my exuberant, childlike, creative, youthful, free attitude. It went underground. And I began to be what's called a perfectionist. Now, through the practice of forgiveness, first and foremost of myself, to forgive myself for harboring and holding this belief about myself for all these years. As I began to do that, somebody once, a minister or practitioner, asked me, so what would you have liked to have happened in that moment, instead of getting your mouth washed out with soap? Now I'm going to share this with you. I'm going a little over on my time, as I usually do. And I want you to hear this as a way to be with yourself. Because this universal infinite intelligence, this is what it does and the way that it works and how we learn to operate within it and honor and care for ourselves and support ourselves to be who we are. So here's what I visualized. I was running around. I had this cute little dress on. That's what I wore all the time. And I said these words. And my father came up to me, and I was about this big. And he knelt down, eye to eye, with me. And he said, Christine, you are so smart. You're just learning to talk. And you're hearing all these words, and you are just so smart and so beautiful. I love you so much. And then he said, and because I know that you're so smart and you're learning so much, I also know, and I want to share with you, that you'll understand that there are certain words that you'll hear from time to time that are not words that you want to go out and just say. And as a matter of fact, your mom and I, or my friends, and me and my friends, we're going to start paying a lot more attention to the things that we say. We're going to take responsibility. Because I know that you're so smart and you're learning, and these are just words that you've heard. And then he gave me a big hug, and he said, I love you so much. I just think you're amazing. And I felt like such a big girl. And I felt happy. I felt loved. I felt safe. That there was someone there for me who would tell me the truth. I trusted myself. And I trusted him. That he was a person of his word. And I was so happy and knew that I was loved unconditionally. I am smart. I'm intelligent. Can you say that with me? I am smart. I am intelligent. I am a beautiful creative being. I am a beautiful creative being. I can trust myself. I can trust myself. I know that I can trust myself to trust others.
I know that I can trust myself to trust others.
I live in a world that is safe.
I live in a world that is safe.
And I know that being me
And I know that being me
serves the world as a whole.
serves the world as a whole.
I am God in expression.
I am God in expression.
One more time. I am God in expression. And so it is.